Hi, this is Kevin Ashworth with Fighting Fair with Kevin. Thanks for checking out my video blog, my YouTube channel, Fighting Fair with Kevin. I'm a therapist that specializes in the treatment of anxiety disorders in Portland, Oregon. We do exposure response prevention, gold standard treatment for anxiety, OCD, social anxiety, panic disorder. And then I speak a lot about anxiety, working with teenagers, parenting anxious kids, building empathy, all those kind of things. And so if you haven't checked out my YouTube channel before, thank you. I appreciate it. If you don't subscribe, please do. I'm getting up there, nearly 1,000 subscribers, so it's pretty exciting. Today I want to talk about social anxiety, and then my next few videos are going to be on parenting. I've had quite a few people write in recently and ask me questions about social anxiety, specifically what they can do to move towards their fear, or what they can do to kind of manage the nuance of when they're scared. So I want to talk about that today. Social anxiety is this excessive judgment of fear. It's the excessive fear of judgment or criticism from other people. So for example, if you struggle with social anxiety and you were to make a mistake like I just made and said the wrong thing, your body would go into this fight or flight mode. You'd have to stop the camera, re-record this, make sure that this comes so flawless so that I don't look imperfect, so I don't look human, so people don't judge me and think that this isn't a decent or credible podcast or credible video blog. And so I'm not going to do that just for that purpose. That wasn't planned, because I make mistakes like everybody else. So individuals with social anxiety would not only be experiencing physiological distress right now because of that mistake, but they later, especially if I upload this, which I will engage in this phenomenon called post-event rumination. And so this is this experience where you can't stop thinking about the mistake that you've made, and you kind of replay mistakes in your head or conversations that you've had with other individuals. So if you're experiencing that, that's the name of it. Social anxiety, how big of a deal is this? I think it's a fairly big deal. We treat a lot of people with this, and we have an intensive outpatient program that we treat a lot of people with this that need lots of practice being anxious and being okay with it. This is not about social competence. Individuals that I experience with social anxiety actually have a fair amount of competence when it comes to being social. When I'm just sitting with them, they're polite, they make eye contact, they're articulate, they have lots of interesting things to say. What they struggle with is their social confidence. They've become so intolerant, or you have become so intolerant of the physiological distress or the worry that happens when you're engaging socially, that is now all you think about. So you're anticipating that worry, and you've done all these small behaviors, what we would call safety behaviors, to prevent yourself, or to the perception of preventing yourself from feeling bad. So you may only do things that you have some certainty about, so you know people that are there, or you always have your cell phone with you so you don't feel awkward, or you make sure you have water with you so your throat doesn't get too dry and scratchy, and prevent your voice from, doing something funny or something like that. Or you look for excessive reassurance about how you did socially, and so you might ask people if they're angry with you, or you may look for lots of cues, all those micro expressions in other individuals, to make sure that they're not judging you. Of course, you'll never know, but you're looking for the stare away, or looking at the watch, or whatever it is, and those all become cues that you're screwing up. Another huge feature of individuals with social anxiety is they actually use their physiology as a measure of how successful the social interaction is going. And so there becomes this conditioned response that if my heart is beating and I'm sweating, that I must be screwing this up. And that becomes really confirming, because the more you think about that, you actually become more aloof, more distracted in a conversation, which only makes that worse. So what can you do about it? So exposure therapy is this idea of moving towards your fear. Now, of course, I'm not telling you to go in and engage in things that you're not certain of, or you're not sure of regarding the therapy. I would certainly recommend getting a therapist, someone that specializes in exposure therapy, to help overcome social anxiety. Just talking about it with a therapist likely is not helpful, because you're going to get reassurance that you actually don't need, that will only create more problems. So think of all the 100 behaviors that you do, thousands of behaviors that you do when you're engaging socially, and ask yourself, why are you doing those? And they can be so subtle, and so Is it you're wearing a certain shirt, or you're buttoning the top button or this button for a reason that you don't want to be judged, or you worry that you will look foolish? Are you styling your hair, much like I do, a certain way because you think that's the way you're supposed to come across? All these very, very small behaviors will maintain your anxiety over time. And so the idea of overcoming this is making decisions to move towards things that are scary. How can you put yourself in opportunities where you can feel the distress and build tolerance for that anxiety at the same time? The worst case scenario for most people with social anxiety is ultimately that they're going to feel really, really bad. That's not what most people say. They'll say, I'll look foolish, I'll be embarrassed. But that equates to, and if that's true, what will that mean? I'll be uncomfortable. The paradox of that is you're already uncomfortable most of the time in anticipation of that social event. So you're not actually preventing yourself from ever feeling distress. You're just shifting your distress around and robbing yourself of confidence. So make a list of all the things you do that you avoid and ask yourself, why are you avoiding those? When was the last time you did something on purpose to challenge your social anxiety? Now, the last thing I'll say, because this is a lot of information, is exposure therapy is not white knuckling it. It's not the experience of just hoping to get through it. So if a friend invites you to a party, or you engage in small talk, chit chat conversation with someone, and the whole time you're thinking, gotta get out, 30 minutes left, 20 minutes left. That's not exposure, because when you leave, your anxiety will totally reduce because you've left, and your experience will be, I survived that one, but it was miserable. You have to be vulnerable and open to the experience of feeling uncomfortable. And that's how one gets better. That's how one builds confidence. And so the things I talked about today have been basically an overview of some of the questions people have been asking me about competence and confidence, and all the small nuances of engaging in opportunities to challenge your social anxiety. So if you're doing it, keep it up. If this is the first experience you've heard about social anxiety and it resonates with you, you can look into that more. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. My website's nwanxiety.com. My email is kevin@nwanxiety.com. You can check out our Facebook page and, of course, write questions on the YouTube channel itself. Thanks so much for watching.